Okay, it's been a while since I had a major project for this 68 Chevelle. The last major project that I did a little over a year ago was the installation of a Tremec T56 Magnum 6-speed manual transmission. And I like the transmission. It's been working real good. It improved my mileage in this car significantly. When I had the Muncie 4-speed transmission installed, I was getting about 12 miles per gallon going 65 miles per hour down the highway. Now with the Tremec transmission and that double overdrive setup, I am getting 26 miles per gallon going down the highway at 65 miles per hour. This is just a good old-fashioned Mark IV Chevy big block that is displacing 496 cubic inches. I have a 850 CFM Speed Demon carburetor, and it sits on top of an Edelbrock Performer RPM intake and heads. The camshaft is a moderate sized crane cam shaft. It's a hydraulic roller cam, and I think the lift is 569, 0.569 inches on the intake and about 600-inch lift on the exhaust. And duration is 224 on the intake and 234 on the exhaust. So it's not real wild. It's just a nice, good, strong street cam. The next upgrade that I'm going to do is to an electronic fuel injection system. And the electronic fuel injection system that I've chosen for this engine is a Fitech Mean Street, and it's good for up to 800 horsepower. I'm also going to use the Fitech Command Center as the fuel pump source for the electronic fuel injection system. And to make that Command Center an easy install in the engine compartment, even though I have plenty of room, I decided to relocate the battery into the trunk, and I'm just going to put the Command Center in place where the battery was. I already have the brackets made to put the brackets that came with the Command Center on, so it's just going to be a nice easy fit. I've already wired the wires for the electronic fuel injection into the wiring harness of the car. Here you see the yellow wire. It's already cut to length, and this is going to go to the passenger side fan relay, and down here is the relay, and I got the connector on it that just slides right into the relay ground circuit. These other wires here go to the Command Center. The orange wire goes to the positive terminal, and the black wire goes to the negative terminal for ground. I also have the vent hose already installed and hooked up to the gas tank, and my gas tank's fuel sending unit had an extra line to hook up to, so it was an easy install to hook up the vent to that, and that will eventually then connect to the Command Center. There have been mixed reviews about Fitech's Command Center. Some have had problems with fuel boiling over, and some have had no problems, so we will wait and see how that works out. I also have the O2 sensor bung installed on the header collector on the passenger side, and it's just installed per Fitech's instructions using the clamps and the gasket that they provide. And again, there's some mixed reviews about that. Some have had some leaks and some have had no problems with that kind of setup. So again, we'll wait and see. If you look closely at the firewall, I have the main connectors already in the harness there. The connector on the left sends wires to the battery and the Command Center, and then the connector with the wires on the right has The wires going to the passenger side cooling fan relay, the ignition switch, and the tachometer signal source. I also have Fitech's coolant temperature sensor installed on top of the intake. And again, some people have had problems with this, saying that it really doesn't work right, and others have had no problem. So again, we'll wait and see how it works out. I already have a temperature gauge in the car coming from the driver's side header, so we'll see if they match up. The other upgrade that I did to the car was I installed a CS144 alternator, and this is the 140 amp version, so that should give me enough amperage to run all this electronic stuff. I just got it out of a junkyard. It came originally from a 1998 Tahoe, and the front part of the case, which has a 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock bolt pattern, came from either some Cadillac from 1991 to 1993. It wasn't actually on the car, it was just laying around. So I put those two pieces together and it's working real good. Cleaned it up, and it only cost about 20 bucks. The only other thing I did to the alternator was I put a 200 amp rectifier in it to make sure that the internals can really handle any extra amperage. Some have claimed that the stock internals are not really as good as they say they are. And if you look at the MSD box here, you can see that I have a dual connector on the tach source. The wire that's already connected goes to my tach gauge, and then the yellow wire hanging free there will go to the throttle body of the electronic fuel injection system. The other thing I did too with the alternator was that instead of running a 10 gauge charging wire, I ran a 4 gauge charging wire, so I should have no voltage drop problems. And the other thing that I upgraded in the wiring of this car were the headlights. They're now wired to relays so that there's no voltage drop problems that are associated with the stock wiring system. So the only thing left to do right now is install the throttle body and the command center. They're ready to go. I have them sitting on the table here, just ready to install. I just have to do some wiring yet for the O2 sensor and some wiring for the display little mini computer that comes with this, so you can tune the system. And then the command center is ready to go. Again, just have to hook up the fuel lines, and then we're ready to start her up. So the next video, I should have some video with the command center installed and the throttle body installed and hooked up and ready to run. So until that time, stay tuned.